I don't know. I thought about doing a few more of these, just shorter versions with particular topics. One of the things I mentioned in the longer video is about the higher truth, the absolute truth. As I've told you many times, the higher truth is always operating. God's purpose, everything is always operating, regardless of what you may think or how you might see that. The higher truth is always operating. For example, Satan does what Satan wants to do and gets Jesus in that situation where his crucifixion is imminent. And man is out in the audience, in the audience, screaming, "Crucify him." So Satan's doing what Satan wants to do, and mankind is doing what mankind wants to do. And Jesus ends up on that cross to the minute of what God set in motion and outlined in the law. That's why the law is a type, a shadow, a pattern of the good things to come. To the minute. It fulfills God's purpose to the minute. The higher truth is always operating. Now, the higher truth, the absolute truth, is that God is God. So often, we that's not the right word, but we end up viewing God in some way less than God. Christianity does that completely because they give God no credit for being somebody who could actually have a plan, put his plan in motion, and accomplish his plan. That should be an obvious thing for God. If you give God the credit for being God. Now, for some reason, human beings, they diminish God while at the same time elevating themselves. That's why they've made this some kind of cooperative effort between God and man. It is not a cooperative effort. This is God doing what God intends to do. And he is doing it. You and I are the beneficiaries of what God is doing. We're not the co-authors of it. We are not on center stage. The higher truth is that you see the stage and you see what's going on. That's the relative truth. But the higher truth is you see behind the stage and over it, and you see what's bringing all of this about and making all of this happen. That's the higher truth. Now, God is God. And anytime you're thinking about God or pondering God or any of that, when you find yourself diminishing God, you need to back up for a second and go, wait a minute, I made God less than what he is. I often think, Sometimes, well, maybe those people are right over there. Maybe those Christians are right. And I'm going to get to face God at some point, and God's going to go, man, JV, what in the world? You were expecting too much out of me. You can see how silly that is, right? And that's what I do. Every time I say that, I go, oh, yeah. I'm going to get to God and say, God, wow. And God's going to go, JV, man, you were expecting too much. Come on. You need to be doing something. You're expecting too much out of me, God. And that gets me back in line, and I realize that's silly. That's a silly notion that I could be expecting too much of God. And I'll just say this, and then I'll end this little video. Christians or people, they sometimes want to seem humble. And so they'll say, well, no, God does most of the work. I don't care. It doesn't matter whether you think God does 50% of it, or maybe God does 80% of it and you do 20%. Or maybe you're going to give God some really good credit and put yourself in a humble situation. Maybe God does 99% and you do 1%. I don't care if you think God does 99.9999999% and you do 0.00000001%. You'll fail in doing your 0.000 whatever one. You won't be able to do that. So if that's the plan of God, that plan will fail every time. Because it doesn't matter how low the percentage gets of what you need to do, you won't be able to do it. That's why the glory of it is that God does it all. Because he knows you can't do anything. He made you that way. He made you weak. Oh, if you could just see that and see that that's okay. Your weakness is not a stumbling block for God. Your inability is not, oh, well, gosh, I just didn't know those guys would be that unable to do anything. I thought they might be able to do something. That's not a stumbling block. Your weakness, your inability is not a stumbling block to God. It's not a hindrance at all. Don't diminish God and try to elevate yourself. As I said in that other video, among other things, the scripture is a witness and a testimony to the complete and total sufficiency of God, while at the same time being a witness and a testimony to the complete and total insufficiency of man. Man is insufficient, but that's okay, because God is completely sufficient, and he has done it all.